A nation divided, the current state of the U.S. border. The U.S. border, a 1,954-mile scar across the landscape, separating the United States from Mexico. This line is more than just a geographical boundary. It represents a complex web of policies, emotions, and human stories. It's a place of dreams and desperation, where people risk everything for a shot at a better life. The journey is perilous, fraught with dangers from the natural environment and human threats alike. But now, millions are flooding into the country, creating hell on earth for the people of the United States. For years, the border has been a political football, with both sides of the aisle using it to score points. Policies change with administrations, but the core issues remain unresolved. The Trump administration's policy kept law and order at the border. Now everything is chaos. The failed Biden administration promised a more humane approach, but the challenges remain immense. Efforts to reunite families and process asylum claims more efficiently are ongoing, but progress is slow. The numbers tell the story: a record number of apprehensions, a strained immigration system, and communities on both sides struggling to cope. The sheer volume of cases overwhelms the system, leading to delays and frustrations. The situation at the border is a powder keg. Tensions run high as resources are stretched thin and patience wears out. Frustration is boiling over, both among migrants seeking asylum and American citizens living in border towns. Protests and clashes are becoming more frequent, highlighting the urgent need for comprehensive reform. The system is broken and everyone's looking for someone to blame. Residents feel the impact on their daily lives while migrants face an uncertain future. But what happens when that blame turns into action? When people feel they have no other choice but to take matters into their own hands? What happens when desperation spills over into something more dangerous? The consequences could be dire, affecting not just the border region but the entire nation. Imagine this. It's a sweltering summer day in Arizona. The heat is almost unbearable, the kind that makes the air shimmer and the ground crack. The sun beats down relentlessly on a makeshift migrant camp near the border. The shelters offer little respite from the scorching heat. Tensions are high. Food and water are scarce, and every day is a struggle for survival. People are sick, and children are crying. The lack of medical care exacerbates the dire situation. For weeks, they've been waiting for their asylum claims to be processed, living in limbo with no end in sight. Then, a rumor spreads like wildfire through the camp. Whispers turn into frantic conversations. The U.S. government is planning to deport everyone, even those with legitimate claims. Fear grips the camp. Panic sets in. People start to talk, their voices tinged with desperation and anxiety. What if they don't wait? What if they take matters into their own hands? Desperation breeds bold ideas. The next morning it begins. The camp stirs with a sense of purpose and urgency. A group of migrants, desperate and fueled by anger, rush the border fence. Their determination is palpable. Border Patrol agents are outnumbered. The fence falls under the sheer force of the crowd. Word spreads to other camps, and soon, thousands are on the move, surging across the border, demanding to be heard. Their voices merge into a powerful chorus. This is the nightmare scenario, a full-blown migrant insurgence. Chaos reigns at the border. While it may seem far-fetched, it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility. The potential for crisis looms large. When people are pushed to the brink, when they feel they have nothing left to lose, anything is possible. Desperation can drive people to unimaginable lengths. An event of this magnitude would send shockwaves through American society. The immediate reaction would be chaos and confusion. News channels would explode with images of the border overrun, fueling fear and outrage. The internet would become a breeding ground for misinformation and hate speech. Politically, the fallout would be seismic. The blame game would begin immediately, with each side of the aisle pointing fingers and exploiting the situation for political gain. Calls for stricter border security and mass deportations would reach a fever pitch. The social fabric of the nation would be tested. Communities along the border would bear the brunt of the crisis, grappling with an influx of people and a shortage of resources. Racial tensions would flare, and anti-immigrant sentiment would likely surge. The dream of a melting pot, of a nation built by immigrants, would be overshadowed by fear and division. Section 4. Economic earthquake, the cost of chaos. The economic consequences of a migrant insurgence would be far-reaching. The immediate impact would be felt in border states where businesses would be disrupted and tourism would plummet. The agricultural industry, heavily reliant on migrant labor, would face severe labor shortages, leading to rising food prices. The federal government would face enormous costs associated with processing and detaining the influx of migrants. Healthcare systems, already strained, would be overwhelmed. The stock market would likely react negatively, reflecting the uncertainty and instability. In the long term, the economic impact would depend on the government's response. A heavy-handed approach, focused on mass deportations and border militarization, would be costly and economically damaging. It would further strain relations with Latin American countries and harm the United States' global reputation. A more humane and sustainable approach, focused on addressing the root causes of migration and creating a pathway to citizenship, would require significant investment, but could ultimately benefit the U.S. economy. Section 5. A nation on trial, justice, rights, and the rule of law. A migrant insurgence would present a fundamental challenge to American values and the rule of law, testing the very fabric of our society. The United States has a long tradition of offering refuge to those fleeing persecution, enshrined in the 1951 Refugee Convention. This commitment is a cornerstone of our national identity. However, the right to asylum is often misunderstood and politicized, leading to heated debates and polarized opinions. In the chaos of an insurgence, it would be difficult to distinguish between those with legitimate asylum claims and those seeking economic opportunity. The lines can become blurred, complicating the process. The U.S. government would face the daunting task of processing thousands of claims while also maintaining order and security. This would require immense resources and coordination. The situation would raise complex legal and ethical questions, challenging our principles and the integrity of our legal system. Can a nation uphold its commitment to human rights while also protecting its borders? This is a delicate balance that requires careful consideration and action. What happens when the system is overwhelmed? The strain on resources and personnel can lead to significant challenges and potential failures. How do you balance compassion with security? This is a question that tests the moral compass of a nation. These are not easy questions, and there are no easy answers. The complexity of the issue requires thoughtful dialogue and collaborative solutions, but they are questions that America, as a nation of laws and a beacon of hope, must grapple with. Our response will define our legacy and our commitment to justice and human rights.